So we'll start that. There we go. We're also so fortunate today to be joined by three other incredible Monzón alums, Jaynie, Claudio, and Jenny, who will be sharing more about their experiences in this fellowship a little later tonight during our panel discussion. So Jaynie, I'll pass to you first. You can introduce yourself, say hi, tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll pass to Claudio and Jenny.
Hey, if I have any dinner on the line, I'm Jaynie Parrish. I'm originally from two communities, Kayenta. I'm a voter in Navajo County. My father's side's from Kayenta, and my mother is from Window Rock. And so um, I am currently the executive director for Arizona Native Vote, a nonprofit organization, and we work around voter education and all the good things related to voter education and elections in tribal and rural communities in our regions. So I'll pass it on over to Cloud.
What's up, everybody? My name is Claudio Rodriguez, and I'm from Tucson, Arizona. My family is by ways of Sonora and Oaxaca, Mexico. I'm currently the Vice President of Policy and Community Organizing for the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona. And basically, what that means is that I'm responsible for the the advocacy and policy work that we do in the Southern Arizona area of five counties: Pima, Santa Cruz, Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee. And I'm telling you, it's tough. It's tough, but we got to do it to make sure that people get the resources they need to thrive, to survive. That's a little bit about my 9 to 5. Outside of that, I'm an organizer full time in environmental justice work, and I'm also a part-time artist. So appreciate it being here. And I don't know, Paulette, 2023 seems to be winning on that best cohort. I'll pass it to Jenny.
Thank you, Claudio. Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Guzman. I use she, her, ella, and I am the state director or program director of Common Cause Arizona. We are a pro-democracy organization. We've been around for over 50 years. We're in over 25 states, and I lead the Arizona faction of the organization. A little bit about what Common Cause does. We are a pro-democracy organization, so I help lead all of the democracy coalitions in Arizona. I lobby, and I also help co-lead the Election Protection Coalition as well. So anything having to do with democracy, I tend to have my finger on the pulse on. And I've been at Common Cause for 2 years now. So I've been really, really excited to be part of this work, be part of this really monumental time right now in Arizona when it comes to democracy work, and be able to also bring a rural perspective. I'm originally from Yuma, Arizona, born and raised. Now I live in Phoenix, but it's been really fantastic to be able to bring in that rural perspective and be that advocating force for rural Arizona, and being able to say, okay, these are the missing parts. This is how we plug in. This is how we connect with our communities that have been neglected oftentimes in the democracy space before. So it's meant a lot to be able to bring that lived perspective into this work.
Thank you all so much for sharing. So excited for you to hear more about Jaynie, Claudio, and Jenny's experiences a little bit later. And thank you three so much for being here. Just so grateful to have you all in the room. Again, I know there are some new faces in the room and some folks who are hearing about Instituto for the first time through this Monzón Fellowship. So would love to take a moment just to tell you a little bit more about who we are and the work that we do. So Instituto's mission is to build sustained political power with low-income communities and communities of color in Arizona. And we do this by accelerating, incubating, and building capacity with leaders and organizations. So what do those fancy words mean? Well, firstly, we know that our communities are already phenomenal. We know that there are already incredible leaders in our communities doing this work day in and day out every day. And so our role here at Instituto is to accelerate and amplify their work by removing any barriers and providing resources and support so that their communities can reap the benefits of their work sooner rather than later. And then with incubation, we know that the people closest to the solution are closest to the problem. And so again, our role is to provide individuals and organizations with resources and support to be able to incubate new ideas and new solutions that they know are going to move their communities forward. And so at Instituto, this work looks like fellowship programs like Monzón. We provide coaching services. We host communities of practice. We're our resource center. We're a fiscal sponsor and much, much more. So that's a little bit about, yeah, the work that we do and what it looks like at Instituto. And I know that you all got to hear from some of our team members, but we also have quite a few other team members on the Instituto team that couldn't make it here today. But all of the folks on the Instituto team are really the people that work to help bring Instituto's mission and vision to life. And while we all have like formal titles and roles at Instituto, collectively, we are coaches, mediators, we're facilitators, we're organizers, we are dreamers and futurists. We are conveners and learners and so much more. And so I want to end this portion talking about Instituto with a quote from our founder, Luis, who shared a little bit about what his dream for Instituto was, and yeah, what we're working to build and create here. So he said, "We are creating a new reality for community change, building an institution led by those who have fought injustice in the past and are ready to lead in the future." So on behalf of the Instituto team, just want to formally welcome you all again to our Instituto family. Some of you have been involved with us before, so welcome back. And for those of you that are new, I'm so happy to welcome you here. And I'm just so genuinely excited to be connecting with you all today. We are so, so happy to have you here. So let's talk about Monzón, because I know that's why y'all are here. We're going to be talking a little bit about just what Monzón is, what you can expect out of this fellowship experience, who we're looking to apply, and then all of the kind of nitty-gritty program logistic details. As I'm going through some of this stuff, please feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Victoria is going to be collecting those for our Q&A portion a little bit later. So if there's any questions that come up that you want to ask me or someone else on the team, or if there's any questions you want to ask the panelists, please feel free to drop those in the chat and we'll be sure to circle back to them at the end. So what is Monzón? The 2025 Monzón Fellowship is a 5-month fellowship program that's designed to empower change makers who are building power with communities in Arizona. And the goal of Monzón is really to develop and strengthen leaders and to be able to cultivate this larger network of change makers who have the skills, tools, and relationships that they need to be able to organize, mobilize, and lead efforts across our state. And at its core, the ultimate goal of Monzón is to develop leaders who can shift power in their communities and who can move forward different initiatives and efforts that improve the material conditions of our communities' lives, and ultimately to be able to drive systemic change. And I always like to share a little context about what the word Monzón means, because I feel like it helps just paint a picture of what this program is about and what we aim to have fellows get out of it. So the word monzón is actually Spanish for the word monsoon. And for those of you who have lived in Arizona for some time, you know that monsoons are a really unique part of our weather here. They are these really powerful forces of nature. If you've experienced one before, you know that it can create really sudden shifts in the weather. Like it can be sunny and clear outside, and then all of a sudden it's dark and stormy, and there's really high winds and downpour rain. And so they really are this powerful shift. And so that is what we want fellows to feel like when they lead this program. We want them to feel like they themselves are a powerful force of nature. We want them to leave this program feeling ready to disrupt the status quo, to challenge systems, and to feel prepared and confident to be able to take really bold actions to transform their communities. So that's a little bit about Monzón and what we are hoping fellows can get out of this program. So what will you learn in Monzón? Throughout the course of the fellowship, you will develop and elevate your leadership. We do a lot of looking inward to try to help fellows learn how to integrate their values and their identity to be able to lead more authentically and more effectively in their work. We also do a lot of analysis of power dynamics. So not only to be able to understand where power lives in our world and analyze the dynamics around you, but especially to be able to understand what the key levers for change are across systems so that when they go back to their communities, they know what those key levers are and they know how to kind of intervene and push and pull those levers in different ways to create the change that they want to see. Core skill development is also a key part of Monzón. So we do a lot of explicit skill building and trainings to learn skills in communications, research and data, fundraising, policy, organizing, and much more. Fellows also gain practical tools to be able to organize campaigns, mobilize and rally their communities, and essentially lead and sustain initiatives back in their own communities. And then lastly, as we've kind of mentioned in the first half of this training, healing is an integral part of Monzón. It's one thing that makes Monzón really unique, I think. And so throughout the fellowship, fellows have the opportunity to engage in different healing modalities, to explore different self-care and wellness practices, to really be able to sustain their energy and sustain their capacity for long-term change post-fellowship. Okay, so that's what you will learn, but what does this learning actually look like? You'll probably hear this from some of our alums a little bit later during the panel, but one thing that we often hear from fellows is that the Monzón Fellowship was nothing like they expected, and it was unlike any fellowship program they've been a part of before, but like in the best way possible. And I think what makes Monzón really unique is that it's more than just a training program. It really is a journey that can be very transformative for fellows. Throughout the fellowship, we weave together not only leadership development and like explicit skill building, but we weave in a lot of personal transformation and really like self-discovery in a sense. And then we also are really intentional about helping fellows connect with local communities and organizations in the different cities that we travel to. And then another key element of Monzón is a focus on building really deep, meaningful relationships with your cohort, with folks in the community, with the Instituto team, and more. So the way that these kind of components look throughout the fellowship, each weekend session involves a blend of workshops, group activities, expert-led trainings, healing sessions. We do a lot of reflection and journaling, and we love reading poetry and literature. So we do lots of like group discussions on that. We also do take time to connect with the local communities that we're visiting. This can look like going off-site to participate in activities or visiting different important places in each city. I know we've been to like art museums before. We did community service activities last year where we packed care packages for migrants when we were staying in a border town. And then we do also like to explore the local environment. So we go on like really chill hikes or nature walks. Sometimes we'll take our poems or readings into nature to be able to discuss them in a different environment, really to be able to help fellows gain a deeper understanding of the unique landscape of the place that we're in. And then lastly, again, building deep, meaningful relationships is an integral part of this program. We want you to be building deep relationships with your cohort members, as well as with us on the Instituto team and other organizations that you come in contact with along the way. Really so that when fellows leave this program, they feel like they have a robust network of change makers that share their commitment to building power, that they can lean on for support, that they can strategize with, to be able to continue to move this work forward. So that's a little bit about what these weekends kind of look like. Now, who should apply? So I want to start by just giving a little bit of context as to how Monzón has shifted since previous years. So in previous years, Monzón primarily supported mid-level managers who were running electoral and advocacy campaigns. And this year we have expanded our vision to really just try to meet the new moment that we're in. One of the things we know is that the challenges our communities face are deeply political. Like not being able to afford healthcare is a deeply political issue. Not being able to find affordable housing or afford the cost of groceries is a political issue. Not having clean skies or having to live in a community where pollution is an issue is a political issue. Teacher pay and overcrowded public school classrooms, like all of those are deeply political. We also know that in that same sense, that political work is not just what happens in campaigns. It's not just what happens in legislative sessions or boardroom meetings or whatnot, but political work is what happens every day, also in like food banks, in direct service organizations, in schools, in harm reduction collectives, and all of these spaces where people are organizing or working together to transform their communities. And so that is kind of the background as to why we have expanded our reach, is that we know that we need leaders everywhere. We need people across all sides and issues who are committed to building power with their communities to create change. So in that sense, we welcome candidates from a diverse range of backgrounds and experiences. So this could look like community organizations or nonprofits. This could look like direct service organizations, so food banks, shelters, harm reduction orgs, etc. This could be more local mutual aid collectives or community coalitions. This could still look like the more traditional political spaces like electoral or advocacy campaigns. Maybe you're coming from an educational organization like a school or a university, and much, much more. This is definitely nowhere near an exhaustive list. And I think beyond any kind of formal title or role, what's more important to us are like the qualities that candidates have. So those are things like committed to creating change. So we're looking for candidates who believe in the power of communities to create change, who understand that it takes having leaders everywhere, and who most importantly want to be a part of this solution. We're looking for candidates who are rooted in community. So whether you work in an advocacy space or a direct service org, we're looking for candidates who have strong ties to their community and who are working to address the issues of their community in whatever way that looks like for them. We're looking for candidates who feel ready to collaborate, learn, and grow. This could be folks who are like eager to deepen their leadership skills, who are excited to connect with like-minded peers, and who are committed to what is very much so a collaborative learning process, and to learn from and work with others. And then lastly, we're looking for candidates who are open to new experiences and personal transformation. So Monzón could be a great fit for you if you're someone who really embraces deep introspection. Maybe you enjoy looking inward and being really reflective about yourself, your values, your upbringing, what brought you to the work you're in now. I would say leaning into vulnerability is also a big part of Monzón. So even if you're not yet fully comfortable being vulnerable, you would be willing to step out of your comfort zone and challenge yourself in those ways in order to connect more deeply with others. And then I think lastly, another part of this personal transformation piece is a willingness to like sit in tension, a willingness to challenge your own assumptions. There are lots of times in Monzón where we guide fellows through moments of intensity or moments of challenge so that they can emerge from this program with a clearer vision and a clearer sense of purpose in who they are and why they're doing this work. So yeah, Monzón could be a great fit for you if you are like open to embracing this personal growth journey and ready to step into your power after the fellowship to lead as authentically and effectively as possible. All right, so let's talk about the application timeline. So our application deadline is February 24th at 11:59 p.m. That's a little under 2 weeks away, and that will be when our application and nominations close. Nominations are something that can be submitted by anyone who can speak to like who you are as a candidate and why you would be great for this program. They are not required. And they don't guarantee selection, but they just help us provide a little extra context into who you are. So yeah, if you know of someone that would like to submit a nomination on your behalf, they are welcome to do that. And you can submit your application up until February 24th at 11:59. The second round of applications for Monzón begins in early March. So Monzón is a two-part application process in a sense, and we'll be informing all applicants via email during the first and second week of March. Those candidates that are selected to move to the second round will be notified via email, and we will be sending out instructions for how to complete that portion of the application. So definitely keep an eye out on your email during the first and second week of March. We will be making final decisions in late March, early April. So really like last week of March, first week of April. Candidates will be informed via email if they've been selected to participate in the fellowship. And in order to confirm your participation in the fellowship, you will be required to submit an acceptance package type of thing. So definitely keep an eye out on your email for that as well. And then lastly, we will be publicly announcing our cohort 4 to the public on April 10th. All right, so this is where we will be for Monzón this year and the weekends that we will be in this process. So again, we'll be traveling to Mesa, Yuma, Sedona, Prescott, and Tucson. And those are the weekend dates of each of our sessions on the screen. Why do we travel for Monzón? That's often a question that we get asked. So we are intentional in Monzón to travel to different cities across northern, southern, and central Arizona. And we also intentionally select the cities that we visit for each session and for in each of these regions. And we do this for a couple of reasons. So firstly, we want fellows to have the opportunity to visit new parts of the state that they maybe have never been to before. And we want fellows to have the opportunity to visit places that hold really rich histories of resilience and resistance and just really deep cultural roots that are significant to our state. So border towns, indigenous lands, other historically underinvested areas, and more. And the reason for that is it's really important for us to ground our learning in the lived realities of communities across Arizona. And I think as people who are committed to building power across our state, we always want to make sure that our work and our learnings are informed by and accountable to the communities that are most impacted. And so by immersing ourselves in the different like local contexts of these areas, we're able to develop a deeper understanding of the histories of each of these places, the challenges and opportunities that they have, and to be able to see the great work that's already happening there. And in doing so, our hope is that fellows will be able to return to their own communities after the fellowship and step into their leadership with just a new understanding, new insights, new strategies, and new relationships in each of these places that will help them continue to move this work forward in their own community. All right, so the time commitment for Monzón. So again, each Monzón session runs from Friday to Saturday. We have a half day on Friday, a full day of session on Saturday, and a half day on Sunday. We usually check into the hotels on Friday around 3 o'clock and then start session around 4. And so this means that you may need to take a half day off of work or a full day off of work on Friday, just depending on your own work schedule and how far you have to travel to get to the session. And then sessions do end at 1 o'clock on Sundays, and that's when we all travel back home. Aside from our weekends in person together, the other time commitment involves just coming prepared for the sessions themselves. We provide each fellow with a workbook in the weeks leading up to each session that have just like all of the learnings that we'll be engaging in throughout the weekend. So things like any readings, any poems, any podcasts we ask you to listen to, kind of all that stuff. And fellows are expected to come prepared to each session having read all of those things, which, yeah, we usually anticipate it takes anywhere from like 1 to 3 hours. When you decide to prepare for this is totally up to you. Some fellows read it in the days before each session. Some fellows read it in the van on the way to each session. So there's definitely some flexibility in what that looks like for you. And then lastly, we do provide compensation and support to our fellows. Firstly, this is a paid fellowship. We do pay fellows a small stipend of $150 for each weekend session that they attend. So that means that by the end of the 5-month fellowship, if you attended all 5 sessions, you will have received $750 in stipends. There are no associated costs, and Instituto covers all expenses, meaning we pay for all hotels, we pay for all meals and snacks, and all materials and any other expenses like that. It's really important to us that there are no barriers for participation. So we also provide other support like mileage reimbursements. If you drive yourself to and from each fellowship session, we do reimburse you for your mileage to help cover the cost of gas, or maintenance on the car, things like that. Transportation wise, for folks residing in Maricopa County, we do have a van that is driven by either an Instituto team member or one of our facilitators, so that fellows can travel together to and from each session. And then for folks outside of Maricopa County, our team works to try to coordinate carpools as much as we can. So if there are fellows living in similar areas, to try to, set up a carpool to just make transportation as seamless as possible for each weekend session. And then childcare and caregiver stipends is another form of support that we offer. So if you're a parent or caregiver, we do provide stipends to help you cover the cost of outsourcing childcare, or outsourcing a caregiver for the weekend that you're away. And I think the last note on this is that once you're accepted into the fellowship before the first weekend session, we will take time to meet with you, to learn more about you and just explore what else you may need to be able to be fully present and show up in this experience. So whether it's learning accommodations, dietary restrictions, religious accommodations, the most important thing for us is that all of our fellows feel cared for, held, supported, so that they can show up fully in this process. So just know that we will do our part to learn about you and what you need, and then put those things in motion to help you have the best experience possible. Awesome. So with that, we are going to move into our panel discussion. Again, if any questions came up for you as I was sharing more about Monzón, feel free to drop them in the chat. We will have some time for a Q&A session towards the end. But with that, we will jump into our first panel discussion question, which is, what did you gain from this fellowship, both professionally and personally? And we will start with Jaynie, and then Jenny can also respond.
Hi, everybody. So I'm from the Navajo Nation, and personally, it was I guess a learning experience both and back, because from my understanding, myself and our colleague Lauren Marshall, we were the first from our counties in our region to be a part of the program, just because we're in a lot of very far off places. And we weren't quite sure about weren't quite sure about the organization, but thankful to other alumni for reaching out and letting us know about this great opportunity. But really, when I came back to Arizona in 2020, I had to rebuild a lot of relationships because I'd been gone so long. And I thought, wow, this is a great way to do that. And in our space, my space, in northeastern Arizona, we just didn't get to connect with a lot of other folks around the state. So this was professionally and personally, I guess, one and the same. That's a big key one. I wanted to meet people from around the state that are doing amazing work and figure out how do we work together. Personally, of course, we can talk more about that, but it's so enriching. I didn't attend one of these sessions. I went in blind, but it was definitely one of the most beautiful experiences. And I was just texting with our cohort. Now I missed you guys. So yeah, it's an incredible experience for bonding. And we don't get to do that very often in a professional or sometimes personal space. And we can get into some of those details a little bit more, but I just wanted to highlight those two things as reconnecting, meeting new people. And it's not always easy meeting new friends sometimes. And it was that kind of space, but all the things they mentioned about the vulnerability and healing, and it's so true. And they have ways of bringing it out in you. It's so good. I'll leave it there. I'll pass it on over to my other colleague.
Thank you so much, Jaynie. I want to plus one everything that Jaynie said. I think that she really encompassed everything, really spot on, especially the enrichment part. I would say for me, what I really felt that I got to experience and gain, especially on the professional side, was a sense of belonging in this work. I, before going into the fellowship, felt really othered because I wasn't born and raised in Phoenix, and everybody that I knew that worked in this field knew each other for many, many, many years. And on top of that, I was on the younger side. I was the second youngest fellow in the program. So being in that position while also having the role that I did at the time, the role that I had at the time going into the fellowship, I used to be the legislative communications director for Progress Arizona. That was way back when. It was really isolating being in my position and also feeling, okay, how do I navigate these relationships with older people, with people that I look up to, and also how do I hold my own? What does that even look like? So for me, I would say that the fellowship really was able to grant me a stronger sense of stability and belonging in this work and field, and really made me feel like, okay, my reason for going into this work is just as valid as other people that are also doing this work. My lived experiences matter. My experience at some other nonprofits or organizations that weren't as positive don't define the movement, don't define the work as a whole. And for me, that was really enriching. And for me, it's one of the biggest takeaways. And overall, I would say on the personal side, I think that it really taught me to be myself in this work and really show up as my full self in this work and really be able to be unapologetic. It's funny now because I'm part of a national organization. So when I meet some of my colleagues from other states, it's really bizarre. Like they'll be like, "You're so brave to say that in front of XYZ person." And I'm like, y'all, I don't know. It just gave me a really strong sense of like, I don't have a lot of fear when it comes to this work. And I think it's really been able to give me the opportunity to feel right, like brave, strong, and also myself. I am brave and strong. And it really, really taught me to not compartmentalize, strong, brave, intense Jenny in my personal life can also be that way in my professional life. And it's all relevant, it's all helpful. But yeah, I think overall it just strengthened my self-esteem a lot. And I feel like without that network of support, without the hard conversations that we had, I don't know how long it would have lasted in this work. But regardless, I think that it really just gave me a sense of humility and humanized the people around me instead of seeing them as untouchable just because they were older or more successful or whatever that may look like. So really, really happy to be here.
Oh, thank you both so much. I just love you both. You're both amazing. Thank you. The second question is related, I think, but more about how you were able to balance your personal and professional life. Monzón can feel like a big time commitment. I think it is. And, we are asking fellows to travel, usually out of their city, sometimes traveling hours to each session, and stepping away from their families, their jobs. So I'd love to hear from you, Claudio and Jaynie. How was balancing your personal and professional life, especially in regards to like work, school, if you have children or families? What did that look like during this fellowship? And we'll start with Jaynie and then go to Claudio.
Okay. Cloud, one of my favorite humans. So I'm very fortunate that I've had going through the program, I had a very supportive family. I know that's not always the case that can pitch in and help and do things. And also I had a pretty supportive job because I'm the boss. But that's not always the case for people. And I can see how challenging it could be to find the time or to maybe get things coordinated, especially if you don't have transportation. I mean, it's 5 hours one way from Window Rock, Orkian to Phoenix, and the group was very supportive. We tried to carpool as much as we can, but I also have family, and we had a place in Phoenix that I would come and stay for periods and then just jump in with the group in Phoenix to go carpool to the different locations. And so it is a little hard. The challenging part with my schedule was making sure that I could make all of them. And that is the commitment you want to make. I couldn't make one because I was sick. Another I was working and I really couldn't make it. But I really was bummed at the end of not being able to go to those two events. And you really just have to carve out the time. And I think that it's once you know and feel the experience, you're like you're in a bubble and you love it, and it's just refueling you, and you need that in this work. And so I was really appreciative of my colleagues and my cohort for all of that. So I mean, my experience and the help that we get from the team is just amazing. The care they take of planning and supporting, and the child care stipend, many folks took advantage of that, and that's really helpful. I had a teen that I had just to make sure, family or help out, pitch in, whatever it is we needed while she was in school. Or if you all have little ones, you know how that can go. So all of these things they've taken time to think about, and I really, really appreciate it. So, it's what you can do. I would say definitely dedicate if you get in, and try and do go to all of them. Professionally, really talk if you can't carve out the time for yourself professionally and you have to talk to bosses or supervisors, please take time to do that. And I would say pull in, if you need some support, pull in an alum or someone from Instituto that help be that support for your boss or your supervisor, because this is just, it's so important and needed for growth. And I think they'll be there to help make the case for you if it's challenging for any reason. So that's it. Cloud.
Oh yeah, I echo everything Jaynie said. Um, yeah, for me it was I work a full-time job, and I'm on the leadership team for the organization. So it means that I have to make decisions throughout the weekend, texting, the whole thing, right? And then managing a team of 10, you know, different personalities, different needs, different things that are happening, right? But this is something that you definitely want to prioritize, because as the organizers told us when we got accepted, you get what you put in. So you have to do the readings, right? It's not just showing up to those 3 days. There's like the readings, the videos, all this knowledge that you're soaking up like a sponge, right? And the way that I thought about it is like, yo, this is professional development. Like I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my growth, because at the time I was a very young director for the organization in the policy advocacy world. And I was like, I need this. I need to learn. I need to grow. And part of that growth is connecting with the other fellows. What do they know? What are they seeing? What are they connecting with? What little tidbits can they share with you? Whether it be like a quote from a movie or a quote from a book or just like a funny joke. And that's why I recommend the carpooling, because you get to connect with people on a whole different level. The hardest part for me, honestly, was not being with my partner for those 2.5 days. Um, because I just love her so damn much, and I was like, damn, I wish she was here, so I can, break out at the end of the day and tell her, like, look at everything we learned, and like, um, hold me because I'm crying, because we're talking about oppression, we're talking about liberation, we're talking about all these different strategies, right? So like you got to make the time, find that support, whether it be through your job. If your job's giving you a hassle, just be like, hey, check it out. This is gonna help us, and it's gonna be returned tenfold based on everything I'm gonna learn and the connections and the networks that we're gonna build. Um, and that's how I was able to do it. So yeah, cut back on the cartoons, you know what I mean? And pick up those books that they be giving you. But yeah, I think it's really about prioritizing, investing in yourself, and reminding yourself of that. Because it's doable. It's doable. And you're the greatest project you're gonna work on, right? To be all like cursi with it, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. You're the greatest project you're going to work on. 100%. And yeah, plus one to what Jaynie and Claudio shared. Our team can also always talk to employers and kind of advocate for you and share like why this fellowship is worth the investment of time. We've done that in the past. And then I think also Jaynie mentioned that one of the reasons that we meet with you one-on-one before the fellowship is to really figure out like what does support look like for you. We had fellows last year who would sometimes have to drive 8 hours to a session because they were like in, so far up in the state or something like that. And so what support looked like for that person might be getting them an extra hotel room halfway through their drive, or something like that. So we do try to individualize the support as much as possible to make this possible for you, so that you really can take the time each weekend to just be in the bubble, and invest in yourself. So yeah, just know that we're here, we're on your team, and we're willing to do whatever we can to make this possible for you. Thank you both so much for sharing. We're going to do this question next, Claudio, and then the next question will be for Jenny. But for this question, Claudio, did you have any doubts about applying? Did you hesitate at all? And if so, what ultimately convinced you to go for it?
The funny thing is that I did doubt myself because I was like, the previous fellows were in a whole different world. They were like definitely in the policy world. And I'm like, yo, I work from the food bank. I'm a hood kid. Like this is not the world I really want to be in. But I know it's something that I need to learn and grow in because it's the direction, it's where I'm being pulled into. Like I can grassroots like all day, every day. But I'm like, I want to learn how to shift power in a whole different level. And that was my main doubt is like, am I gonna fit in? And to be honest, I fit in, like the whole crew 2023, like we fit in perfect, like a glove. The other part that I did doubt, which is a funny story that I think I shared with a lot of the organizers, was I was like, who are these folks? I don't even know them. Like, I've never heard about Monzón, never heard about Instituto. So I had to hit up a homie up in Phoenix. I was like, yo, dog, like, who are these people? Are they real? They're like, they all look like kids, like, who are they? Like, and then he's like, nah, they're real. So he validated them for me. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna do it. And I'm glad I did it, and it was like a very different setting that the organization that I'm a part of found itself in because we're not super into like putting elected officials in or people in positions of office, but we're definitely heavy on the policy piece because those policy pieces impact the people we serve, the people we secure resources for. So to me, that was the funniest thing, and that's what convinced me, right? And then I was like, I even asked them too. I asked folks like, why did y'all even select me? Like this is kind of weird, like, and they're like, we've never had a food bank apply. And it was really interesting to them. And like, why are you like, we don't really see you on the ecosystem. So to me, it was like, oh, damn, like you don't see us in the ecosystem. That's a problem because like we get mad money from the USDA, from the state, federal government, all these different programs that are influenced by policy. So it's like, I don't know, I was like what is it? I'm putting my toe in the water to see like, all right, how can we connect more in this whole different way? But yeah, those are my two things is like, do I really fit in? Hell yeah, I do. Are they real? Hell yeah, they're real. So everyone that's on this call, it's real. It's a real thing.
Thank you so much. And I think that's such a good point, Claudio, is that you were one of the first people in the program that was from a food bank, from this like adjacent side of our ecosystem. And now we have expanded the program in such a way where like we're trying to get more people from food banks. We're trying to get more people that are working in shelters or working in harm reduction groups and things like that. So we had a vision and you came through for us, Claudio. It definitely it definitely worked out. And we are real for sure. We're gonna move to Jenny. Yeah, Jenny, for our next question, which is, can you share a moment from the fellowship that challenged you or pushed you outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah, thank you so much, Emily. I would say for me, one of the most challenging parts was plugging fully in. Not trying to trauma dump, but to be fully transparent, I went through three of the hardest moments of my entire life during Monzón. I went through some of the most life-changing, horrible terrible things that could have happened in my entire life and have happened in my entire life during Monzón. That was a period of time where I was really relearning who I am, relearning what my life is going to look like from now on with some of the changes and experiences that I unfortunately, went through. So for me, it was plugging fully in and opening myself up to the program when, again, I was going through a time where that was the last thing I felt like I could do. And, I remember the first session, I was dealing with something personal, annoying, difficult, and I really didn't want to be there. I was in a really bad mood. I was like, "Ugh, why am I here? Why am I in Scottsdale, Arizona? I'm annoyed." But it was really the grace and support of the other Monzón members and Instituto that made me feel okay. Like, it's going to be okay. You are here right now. Everything else, the outside stuff, that can wait. You don't have to address it. It's still going to be there when you are done with this program. It's still going to be there after this weekend. May as well allow yourself to plug in and to really reflect. So I would say that was definitely one piece, plugging in and being able to bond when I was going through things that I really didn't want to. And I know that may sound wild, but that's 5 months of the program. Those 5 months, that's half a year. Think of how different you were in the beginning of last year to the middle of the year last year. You really change and go through a lot. And these are people that see you grow. These are people that see you start to get to know you and are really able to give input and advice and support in ways that honestly I had never had before. So it was really, really helpful there, but also it really allowed me to learn to slow down and also really allowed me to slow down and also think, okay, remember, you're not your work. You are not this traumatic experience. You are not the situation that you're going through. How you are showing up right now, we're accepting you as a full human with everything that you're going through and everything that you will go through. So that was really, I think, something that pushed me a lot and also allowed me to bring in some of those perspectives into the discussions, allowed me to tie things in and really allowed me to step into a different version of myself that I've really just flourished in and I'm really happy and grateful to be a part of. So yeah, I would say that's something that challenged me or pushed me. And at the same time, as difficult as it was, I wouldn't change it for the world. It made me who I am and I love myself. So why not?
Thank you so much, Jenny. Yeah, absolutely. It's always such an honor to see like the community that's built through Monzón, and definitely plus one to like seeing fellows as a whole human. I think just as much as we ask fellows to get vulnerable, like to please expect that we too, as facilitators, as people on the team, will also reciprocate that vulnerability. And it is just such a special part of this program. I know we are at time, so we're probably going to stay on an extra 10 minutes or so. If you're able to stay on, please do. If not, we will be sending this recording out after the call, but we're going to ask just one of the panelists to share this, and then we'll have time for questions, and then I'll just be sharing the application links and stuff like that at the end. But do any of you three panelists feel particularly strong about this question and want to take it? Since I know all three of you are planning to share. Any of you feel strongly? So, are you sharing, Jaynie? I heard you.
Oh, I
You were
was just
muted.
saying what was most impactful, that
Yeah,
question? Or,
yeah.
oh, okay. Sure, I can share. I wasn't sure. So I was coming from starting a new organization. So I already kind of also came in knowing what I wanted, and I know that's not going to be the case for a lot of folks. Like I kind of thought I had a clear vision, um, but that will change, and it'll just make you richer and fuller in the experience. I also came in older. There's a lot of young ones, and I thought, okay, I'm anti-status here. I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but it's really great to see our age ranges and experiences all come together. Similar to Cloud, like you have visions, right? We're here to help community and be positive and change the world, and we need to have this. And we always say, if we could do this in our communities more often, it's great. Like our organization, we work with Indigenous rural voters, voting rights, Native voices, uplifting, and we've taken a lot of these practices in our meetings and with our team because they help. They help with the bonding, they help with us in foraging our work. So I would say those are some of the really big, meaningful parts. I mean, there's so much. I know we can't get into it all, but I'm going to leave it there with you belong, you should go. And if we had more of these on every scale, the world would be so much better. Our work and our spaces would be so much better. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And thank you, all three of you, so much for sharing your experiences. I know we're at time, so we'll see if anyone in the room has any pressing questions to ask the panelists. Otherwise, I'll be sharing my email address after this slide, so you can always reach out personally to me if there's any like logistical questions about the program. But does anyone have any questions you want to ask the panelists while we have them here in the room? Feel
There
free
was
to drop it in the chat or come off the mic.
there was a question, Emily, if this was going to be if the recording was going to be shared with folks.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be emailing out the recording after this call, so you should see it in your inbox later tonight. And then we will be posting it on our website as well for anyone who didn't RSVP for the training.
There's also another question. If someone knows they'll miss one of the sessions, will that affect their entire entry into the cohort?
No, not necessarily. I would say definitely still apply. I most likely, like in the past, most people have missed usually about one. I think as long as you can commit to attending 4 out of the 5, I would definitely still say apply. If you're only able to make like 2 or 3, I think at that point, that's when it becomes challenging to get like the full experience out of this program. But we are flexible. We know that people get sick, have family stuff come up, what have you. So yeah, definitely still apply, still shoot your shot, and just let us know what that date is that you're not able to attend so we can plan accordingly.
And there's a question here, maybe for panelists, like who should not, like, is there any reason not to do the fellowship? Like, who would you all say maybe it's not for you if X? I don't know.
Sorry, I replied to that comment, and I just added, if you're only looking for networking opportunities, which I doubt, right? Like if you're here in this session, if you're plugged into Instituto, you likely care about the work as a whole. I'm not worried about that at all. But to be fully transparent, right? Like if you're only looking for networking opportunities or an opportunity to travel, that's not really what the program is about. And it's a really full transformative experience. So I think really just leaning into the uncomfortable side of things, leaning into the vulnerability, and really understanding that, the program only works, the fellowship is only successful and effective if everybody is giving it their 100% and not just looking, for their next job or their next network. It really is a really enriching opportunity, both personally and professionally. So that would just be my only flag. But again, like I don't think that really applies to anybody in this room. But there's different fellowships for that, to be fully transparent. So I just wanted to name that. There's different fellowships that are not going to be having you read revolutionary theorists. So also important.
100%. Thank you, Jenny. I see from Nancy, what of the fellowship still stays with you and impacts how you live and work today? Claudio, I see you shared a comment on that. Do you want to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I always think about like all the sessions that we had, especially around the data, like how to find data, how to use data. Like there was tools that I hadn't even heard of, and now I'm like digging into all the elected officials, like, all right, who's paying you? Who's doing this? How do I get under your skin, and how do I tailor stories? Yeah, Victoria did that session. Hell yeah, I remember that. And how do you tailor these stories to move and sway and change opinions and change the vote? And then the we started ending it more towards like real conversations, because in this work there will always be conflict. So how do you have those conversations with other folks in the community, especially when you're organizing? Like you have to be able to navigate those conversations. You can't let them marinate because still water, what is it? Still water breeds mold or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. All the pieces on like being in principal struggle with others and yeah, sitting in tension, sitting in conflict, and like being able to make conflict really generative. Um, 100%. And yeah, shout out to Victoria for leading the data session in our last cohort. Awesome. I think that might be it. If I missed any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Oh, I see Nicole.
Yeah,
Do we
Nicole
share?
has.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah, so we do share hotel rooms. I will say that we always, again, like try to accommodate the specific needs that you might have. So we have had fellows in the past who do need to have their own hotel room, but we do encourage folks to share hotel rooms. We think that it helps like build relationships, build community. But we have had fellows in the past who needed their own hotel room, and that's okay too. So that would be something we'd have a conversation about once you're accepted to figure out like what those accommodations and needs are that are specific to you. Um, so normally, yes, we share, but there's always room to have you have your own hotel room if that feels more comfortable for you.
I have a
Oh,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Carmen Terrell. I'm on the phone because I couldn't do the Zoom call in person, like with my face and everything. But anyway, my question is I've already submitted my application, but I need to edit it because I'm involved with so many so many orgs, as well as I help people in the community on my own. I'm just my own community activist on myself, and I'm wondering if I could just go back and list everything, or it's like I could email you or something. Or how does that work?
Yeah, if you've already submitted an application but want to add more details, then I would say you could definitely email me and just let me know what you want added to your application. And I think, Victoria, if that sounds good, I can just put it back in there, if that makes sense, add the additional details. Or you could submit another application and we can just kind of merge the data of the two. Victoria, any thoughts on what would be better on the back end for that?
Yeah, I think if you have like you can email them their what they wrote, and then they could resubmit or just send you what the edits would be or the yeah.
Mhm. Okay, let's do that. You'll see my email on the next slide. If you want to send me an email, I can send you your application, and then you can just let me know what pieces you'd like to build upon or add more detail to, if that sounds good.
Okay, well, I can't see it because I'm on the call by phone.
Okay, I can email you. You said Carmen, right?
Yes, Carmen
Okay,
Sorrell.
perfect. I'll make sure to email you right after this then.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. I know we're over time, so we're going to close out. I do have some links that I'll be dropping in the chat. These are, like our webpage link, our application and nomination link, as well as my email address. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Remember that applications are due about 2 weeks away, a little under 2 weeks. So please make sure you are submitting your applications and nominations by that deadline. You can also follow us on socials to stay connected with all the Monzón updates and things like that. And yeah, that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. I'm so grateful to always have y'all willing to jump in and support us with this. It's just so amazing to see you, a year or 2 years later now, and all the incredible work you're continuing to do. So thank you three so much. And thank you to everyone else who joined this call today to learn more about Monzón. I think I just want to end this by saying, like, you are so deserving of this opportunity. Like Jaynie said, you belong here. You are deserving of the investment. You're deserving of the support that this fellowship offers. You deserve to have dedicated time to focus on you, to build your skills, to deepen your leadership in a community of people that believe in your potential. The work you do matters, and here at the Instituto team, we really see the energy, passion, and commitment that you bring to your work. And Monzón wants to be here to support you on that journey. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out. And if you know of anyone who'd be a good fit for this fellowship, please nominate them. Otherwise, I hope to see your application come through soon. And I see Victoria has her hand up, so go
Yeah,
ahead, Victoria.
something that I shared when I was a trainer for Monzón was that I was a Monzón applicant and I did not get accepted to Monzón. So after that, I was connected with Instituto. I know. And the reason I'm sharing that is because once you're in the network, like Instituto also supports you in so many different ways. And that was, at first a bummer, but at the same time, it was super, super great to meet kind of what Claudio said, like, who are these folks, right? Because I was that too. I'm like, ¿quiénes son? Who are they? What are they about? So for me now, like being on the other side, right, of being part of the Monzón team and in a different way, have really made.
Oh, uh-oh. I think you froze. Was it me? Am I freezing? Okay. Victoria, I think you froze, but I think, yeah, what Victoria said is very accurate. And one of the things we always say is just like shoot your shot. Whether like you'll end as part of this cohort or just part of the community and we can connect with you and help you in other ways. That is what we're here for. We want to be connected with you and to be able to provide you resources and support, whether it's through the Monzón Fellowship or one of our other fellowships or coaching or something else. So yeah, definitely shoot your shot. You deserve this. You belong here. And yeah, I hope to see your application come through soon. Please reach out if you have any questions. And thank you all for staying on a little bit late. And thank you to our panelists again. Bye, y'all. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye.
Great job, team.
Thanks.
Thanks, Emily.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye, Jenny.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Of course, happy to help. Bye, all. Have a good night.
Bye.